Hi, my name is Francis Conrad, and I help people to live the life that they love. What a goal. What a way to live, to get up each day and look forward to our day because we're doing what we love. And I could maybe expand on that from my own experience. The life that I love is I love the adventure of life. And so, how can we expand an ordinary life into a life of adventure? Now, there's a nice goal. And, I'm thinking about a quote from St. Augustine. St. Augustine is one of the early church fathers. I think he lived around 800. And what he said just really caught my attention. Now, like myself, he had to have been a traveler. And he said, what if life were a book? And the person who never travels never turns the book past the first page. It's like each page of the book is opening ourselves up to travel and to doing different things, going different places. And so the real shame of having this incredible book would be to stay on the first page and never see what's beyond that. Now, I'd like to expand St. Augustine's idea and say, besides travel, there's probably so many other ways that this book could open up for us. It depends on what it is that calls us. And so maybe one of the ways that the book could call us is to just be playing bigger, doing more with our life. And so if we play small and if we stay limited, does that keep us on the first page of our book, and we never turn the pages and find out what's further down the road for us? If we play small, we hold ourselves back from opening the book of life, our own personal book of life. Or another person might just live their life from one habit to the next. And it's all predictable because it's automatic, it's habitual. And our habits and our habitual way of thinking, then you could say, keep us from ever turning those pages of our own personal story, of our own book, to see beyond our habits what could be waiting for us. So you get the idea that a life of adventure, a life beyond habits, a life beyond playing small, a life beyond being complacent and just doing what's expected, is a life that could be missing so many things that are waiting for us as we turn the pages. We turn the pages to a life of adventure. We turn the pages to being daring and opening up to do more than maybe we've ever done, and to get outside of our comfort zone, get outside of what it is that has become routine. Routine and comfort are ways that hold us back, even though there was a time in my life when I thought, the goal of life is to be comfortable. The goal of life is to do the things that really will make a difference. And I didn't know that I was literally convincing myself to stay on one page. Travel, for me personally, opened that up so that I have many more pages and many more stories and many more adventures because I was willing to risk stepping into a journey of travel. Now, for somebody else, that journey might be, living their purpose, they're expanding their business, being committed to the kind of family that they have. Whatever it is, I think that we are we're all called to something that will make our life a page turner. So I'm going to talk about this in 3 ways, and they will help us to focus in on the how. How do we do this? So the first way goes back to my first time traveling. On some level, I think I've always known since I was in grade school that I would have to travel. And the first time that I heard a friend of mine talk about going overseas, and I looked up to him because he's somebody that had traveled, in my mind, extensively, had been to India and been around the world. And when I heard him talk about that he was going overseas to meet a friend, I didn't hesitate. I asked him questions, I got involved, and I knew this is the doorway. If I jump on this now, can we meet overseas? And it'll turn the page. Up until then, I had never traveled. I had no idea how to turn that page. But here was somebody who knew, and I jumped on the opportunity. Let's go together. Teach me what you know. And sure enough, he was glad to meet me in Rome and gave me a date. And at that point, I had no idea what I was going to need to travel. I had no passport. I had no experience. And actually in the States, I was living a very limited and confined life. So how on earth was I going to get this all together in the short time frame that he gave me? I had no idea. I didn't know how I was going to do it. All I knew is I'm doing it. And I started a crash course in what did I need to do. I didn't have time to be afraid. I didn't have time to hesitate. I was committed. And maybe that's what turned the first page for me, is the fact that I was so ignorant, and the fact that I had no idea what it was that was going to call me. It didn't matter. I'm going. And I didn't hesitate. How many times when we're looking to turn the book does the door open, and it's like it's only a certain short time limit that we either decide we're in or we let that page go. And if we let it go too many times, who knows when it might come back. But anyways, for me, that was a lesson. Jump on the opportunity, and we'll figure out the rest as it goes, as it comes. I want to tell another story. I was in Chinatown, and it was getting late in the afternoon in Bangkok. To me, Chinatown in Bangkok is one of the most amazing Chinatowns anywhere in the world that I have gone. And it's huge, and it's a community, and it also has so many places where an outsider like myself can meet people and step in. Well, it was getting dark, so all the places were closed up. And we were quite a distance away from where we were staying in Bangkok, so we were going to need to take a boat ride back down the river. That's how we got here. We would go back the same way. And so I had no idea where the river was, and there weren't people around. Chinatown had closed down. It was quiet. And so we just started walking. And the longer we walked, the more it felt like, boy, am I going in the wrong direction? Am I getting myself into more trouble? There weren't any cars going by. It was getting dark. And I had no idea, other than some part of me that said, keep moving. And so I kept moving. And I was with my group of travelers. And as we kept moving, I could tell that all of us were starting to wonder, what have we gotten ourselves into? How are we ever going to get out of this? And I really had no idea. But I kept moving. And there was a point when I remember walking down the street and I thought, maybe it's time for me to give in. And one of the people in the group I knew had a phone with a GPS unit. Maybe we can use the phone to find out where we can catch a boat to get out of here, because this is not looking good. I don't know what it was that told me that's okay, keep going. One of the rules that I've had, it's like a game when we travel, is that we won't use our phones as a GPS unit. Now, what does that mean? I can't use my phone. How do I know where to go? How do I know, in this case, where the boat is going to be? I think that we have a natural GPS unit inside of our gut. And it's sort of often referred to as a gut knowing or as an intuition. And my intuition, even though I had up in my head all this stuff saying, don't do it, my intuition said, keep going. And when I was ready to give up, I really was ready. It's like, okay, I give. We're going to have to use that GPS unit to find our way back. It was right at that moment that around the next curve, right here, my gosh, not only was that the first time I saw the river, but that was also exactly where we needed to be to catch our boat. How could I have arranged it any better? And how often is it true that when we need something, the universe seems to wait until the last minute? What a game. Not only is the game played without knowing, without being in control about where we need to go and how to find things, but the game is also played that we almost take ourselves to the limit before the universe supplies what it is that we're needing. One more story. It's actually not a story, it's a technique. And then we'll wrap this up. So the third thing, and we're looking at how do we turn our life into more of an adventure. Sometimes the way to turn your life into an adventure, surprisingly enough, is to slow down or maybe to stop. Now, in the one before, the answer was, my intuition said keep going. But what do I do when my intuition doesn't give me an indication of what to do? Sometimes the best thing to do is, let's say we're walking down the street, we don't know what to do. We don't know what's next, and so what we do is we stop. A lot of times I like to stop somewhere where there's a bench or a place, and hopefully we're on the street or something that, people are walking by and things are going on around us. So it gives me something to focus on. But the important thing is that I slow down because I don't have any idea. My gut's not giving me any indication. And when I slow down and stop, I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm just taking in what's around me. In other words, I get out of my head and I allow myself to just, I call it be grounded. My feet are solid if I'm standing. If I'm sitting, I still have my feet on the ground. And if I'm sitting, I'm grounded in the chair. So whatever is going on, when I slow down and actually stop, my attention is just on whatever is around me. I'm not trying to figure it out. And I'm solid. I'm solid on the ground. I'm solid where I'm sitting. And I'm in no rush. I just let myself sit there. Well, when do I move? I move when I finally get a message from my gut that says, okay, now you can get up. Or a hunch, a feeling that gives me some sense that it's time to move again. And that's when I move. All of the ways that we just talked about, listening for a feeling, a hunch that says it's time to move, or if I am moving and my gut says keep going, I keep going. And I don't hesitate. That story with Neil, the first time I traveled, the important thing was I would never have gotten beyond that sense of, being at home and knowing that I want to travel but never travel, I had to not hesitate and just jump on the opportunity. And yes, there was all kinds of stuff I didn't know, and yes, so many times when I travel, I may not be prepared the best, but I'm there, and I didn't hesitate. So I leave you with these three. I think that they all have their own place. Don't rely on the phone, rely on your gut. When you're not sure what to do, wait. Ground yourself and just look around. Don't try and figure it out. And sometimes you just know this is a door. Jump in through the door, get yourself going. It'll be a page turner in your life. So life can be a game. And these are some of the ways that I've learned to play as a traveler. And I think that they're helpful in any other part of life. So it was great to share this with you today. When I got started, I thought, why should I do this? I did one of these yesterday, and it was like a door. It's like that door was open, and it said, go through and do it. But I don't know what I'm going to talk about. It'll come to you. And guess what? At the last minute, it did come. This is the result. It may not be perfect. I know it's not perfect. It's far from it. But I did it. And this is the way that life opens up. So may you live the life you love by turning the pages in your own book and exploring what's outside and beyond your routines, beyond where you are playing small. And definitely journey, because without these journeys and these explorations, so much that could be yours in this book is never available. So turn the page. Anyways, it's been great. Take care and live the life you love.